Now that we know how the prophets fit in history, it's time to talk about the books themselves. So, let's jump right into...
Wait a minute! I've got a question.
What? Okay. What's your question?
What did they call it when they got a message from God? Did they just say, I have a message from God? Or was there a special name?
Sunday school lady?
Interesting question. In fact, there is a name for these messages. A message from God is called an oracle, and in the prophets usually starts with the words, "Thus says the Lord."
An oracle. Very interesting. So let's get into the first...
I have another question. How did God give these oracles? Did he call on the phone, or were they text messages?
Sunday school lady?
They didn't have phones, so they couldn't send text messages or emails. Sometimes God spoke to a prophet in a dream. The prophet would be asleep, and God would reveal something to him. By the way, there were female prophets. Deborah was one of them. But the prophets in this section were all boys. Sometimes it was through a dream, but most of the time it doesn't say how God spoke. The prophet just writes, "And the word of the Lord came to me." So we don't know. But probably not a text message.
Okay, so, jumping into the first...
I've got one more question.
Ay, caramba.
How many questions have you got in there?
An endless supply. What kinds of messages or oracles were there?
Such an inquisitive mind, like a little sponge. Interestingly, there are 4 main types of oracle in the Old Testament: indictment oracles, judgment oracles, instruction oracles, and aftermath oracles. An indictment oracle tells someone what they've done wrong, sort of like a judge telling you in court that you didn't stop at a stop sign, and that's why you're in trouble. A judgment oracle says what will happen as a result of the bad things you've done. Since you didn't stop at the stop sign, you have to pay a $100 fine. A judgment has been made against you. An instruction oracle is a little different. Instead of giving a judgment, the judge just gives a warning and says, maybe you didn't know this, but you're supposed to stop at stop signs. There aren't many instruction oracles in the Old Testament because all the instructions the Israelites needed were already given to them in the books of Moses, the Pentateuch. They knew what they were supposed to be doing. And finally, an aftermath oracle. The judge wants you to have hope for the future, so he says, after you've paid your fine, we'll clean off your record and you can go out and have a great life. God never wanted Israel to lose hope, so he would have his prophet paint a picture of the blessings coming to the whole world through his people and his rescue plan.
Oh, that's really cool.
Okay, any more questions? Ian?
Nope, I'm done.
All right, good. So let's dive in.
Hang on, I got one.
Oh, for the love of Pete, I'm out of here.
Go ahead, Chuckwagon.
Is it true that these prophets could predict the future? They predict what was going to happen, and then those things would come true? Because that's really cool.
Predict isn't really the right word.
What do you mean?
Let's go back to our courtroom. Say the judge gives a message to a helper, and the helper brings the message to a criminal, someone who has committed a crime. The message says, next week you will go to prison. Sure enough, the next week a policeman takes the man to prison. Should he say, wow, that helper can see the future?
No, that'd be silly.
That's right. The helper was just delivering a message. The judge knew the criminal would go to prison because the judge is the one who makes the plans.
So the helper wasn't predicting the future. The helper was just telling the criminal the judge's plan. So the judge is like God, and the prophets are like the judge's helper.
Exactly. God has the power to plan the future. The prophets weren't predicting the future. They were just telling the Israelites what God was planning to do.
Right. So we shouldn't get too wrapped up in the idea of prophets predicting the future. Prophets are messengers. God has a plan, and sometimes he reveals to us little parts of that plan in advance. There's no magic. God is just telling us what he already knows he's going to do.
I think we should sing a song now.
Oh, definitely. You go first.
When God talks through a prophet, the messages.
An oracle.
He'll tell us what our sin has been, or of his plans historical.
Indictment, judgment, or instruction.
Blessing coming or destruction.
Hope for the future in the aftermath.
These are the messages God could drop into your path.
Messages collected in 17 books.
And finally Buck Denver gets to take a look.
That was your cue.
Oh, right. Is it really my turn? Can we really jump into the books of the prophets now?
No.
What?
We're out of time. We'll have to save all that for the next show.
I don't even know why I'm here.
Tell me about it.
God spoke to Israel through 16 different prophets whose lives and writings are collected into 17 different books. 17 books filled with amazing stories, some of which you'll know really well. We'll talk about each one of them next time. See you then.